Welcome to Details Untold with your host, Nick and Jason. That was a terrible Yoda impression.
Sounded almost more like Cookie Monster.
It was like, Cookie Monster met like Miss Piggy. It's like Miss Piggy and Cookie Monster's baby. That's what that was.
Is that what Yoda,
hello, listeners. Welcome to another week. Yes, for all you hearing us, Jason has a Yoda, animatronic Yoda behind him. And for all of you that are seeing us, you know what I'm talking about. So there we go. But that was my shameful. I'm ashamed of that impression. That was horrible. But anyway, welcome to Details Untold, where we interview interesting, normal people that do amazing things with their lives. And I'm excited about today. But before we get into that, Jason, my co-host, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. It's been a busy day, busy week. I'm ready for the week to be over, but glad to see you, buddy.
For the weekend.
Oh, yeah,
by the way, we tape on Thursday, so that's why we're all ready to go for Friday Eve, I would say, and then we get Friday, and then we get the weekend. Yep. So we're excited. Well, that's awesome, sir. Any new news? Anything going on in the anything interesting happen?
Nothing too crazy on my end. I got one of my dog's appointments for the vet for the annual checkup on Saturday, so that's going to be fun for him.
It's exciting stuff, buddy.
He's going to hate that.
Hold on, listeners. Whoa.
Yeah.
Jason just started. You can't go full-fledged vet visit, man.
I know. And then working on getting my oak tree taken out in the front yard. That's a big project I'm working on.
Keep it for some firewood. Those 2 nights a year that you need it in Florida.
Yeah, hardly ever.
Yeah.
How about you, Nick? How about you?
Dude, I'm doing good. I am a serial binger Netflixer, Disney Pluser streamer. I guess that's the best way to say it. I'm a binger streamer. And I've kept up with, I can't say I binged it, but I did binge this last season of Sweet Tooth with the kitty hybrids and everything like that. I thought it was a very good show. Nice. The ending was very well done. I think it definitely, for me, lived up to, the entire way of it, right? They didn't screw up the last episode or anything like that. I thought it was very, very well done. And then an exciting one too, that I've never done is Doctor Who. I've never watched a Doctor Who before, but the current Doctor, I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm not even going to say it. Is from another show that I watched, was Sex Education, which is on Netflix, and he's just the best. He was the best in that show. He had me crying in Doctor Who. It was such a fun show, and I just watched the season of Doctor Who. I didn't even watch the 4-part series with David Tennant leading up to it. I just jumped in, and really, you kind of figure it all out. There's no backstory needed or anything like that. So so that's kind of what I did. It's fun. I like watching shows like that. It's different, but that's what I kind of liked. It was very sci-fi, very out there, very fun.
I really like Chris Eccleston as the Doctor, which was the first remake of Doctor Who. It was only one season because there was some challenges, I believe, on the back end with the writing and acting and stuff with Chris Eccleston and the writers, but he was fantastic. He was the guy that, do you know who Chris Eccleston is?
I was playing along with it.
Okay. So he's the dude from G.I. Joe that played the guy that got his face turned metal.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
No,
David. What's his name? I just said his name. The guy, David Tennant. He's the Doctor that I know, that I knew of, type of thing. So, and I heard he was really, really good.
Yeah. No, David Tennant's most people's favorite. Yeah. And then there's Matt Smith as well, who's also one of the recent ones. And Now
I know curious minds, Jason. It is the time of the podcast to discuss the drink of the week.
Yeah.
What do you got going on over there, sir?
I have Marzen beer.
Marzenhafener beer.
Another one of my German Advent beers. So
a German Advent beer.
Yeah, a German Advent.
Hey,
beer.
Mom, I'm putting that German Advent beer to good use on my podcast.
Yep, I got another I don't know, 20 something left. So
there we go.
Every week I have one. How about you, Nick?
So I got my Treasure Island cup full of, because of our guest, I have it full of banana pudding, Old Smoky moonshine.
That's a good moonshine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm.
That is by far one of my favorites from Old Smoky.
It is so good. Old Smoky. I like moonshine in general. Apple pie is my favorite. Kristen really likes the banana pudding.
Okay.
And boy, howdy, man, I love that banana pudding. The banana pudding with like a little bit of Fireball would be good.
That part would be, yeah.
Right, it would add that nice little spice to it.
Yeah, it'd be pretty good. So who do we have on today, Nick?
So today we have a very special guest. I love her. I've known her for years. She's one of those friends that we, catch up every once in a while. Anytime I go to Orlando, not every time, I should say. Sometimes we run into each other just organically. It's my friend Jill Hopke. She's awesome. She is. When I met her, she was a home baker. Like these cupcakes, Jason, were delicious. Like we met, and every time she came in, she'd always have a cupcake or like a box of cupcakes, and it was just that's like what I was excited for. But she's been on the Food Network with she won Cupcake Wars season 6. That's huge. She was on Holiday Wars and a numerous cupcake baking awards and everything like that. So I'm really excited to talk to Jill today, and let's welcome her in. Welcome, Jill. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, it's good.
Jill.
Good to be here. Oh, I'm gonna fall out of the chair.
I just introed you. I wanted to wait till you got on till I can tell. So we met at Disney, Jason.
Right.
I don't over 10 years ago.
I think way more than that. What was that? It was like 2009.
2009, 2010.
Yeah, because I found the cast photo like a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, oh, it's upstairs in the closet. I should have it for everybody to see.
Okay, we've only been talking on this for a week, Jill. It's fine. No big deal, right?
Didn't even think about it until I was like, what year was that? Oh, it's on the bottom of the... Yeah.
So we met at Disney. They had this thing for cast members, like extracurricular. It was called Stage, and you could do plays. And actually, I only did 2 things. I did a play for a guy that I knew, Ken, was A Midsummer Night's Dream, which that I met Jim. And then Jim's like, hey, you're really funny, and I want to do like an improv thing. Would you try out for it? I said, yeah, sure. So then Jill put these auditions on, Jim put all these auditions, and then Jill showed up. Well, we had Danielle and Shane and Rebecca. And
I'm actually still very close with Rebecca. I went to Epcot with her the day before the baby was born.
Oh wow! Wow! You walking that baby out? Huh? Congratulations!
We're in California. We see her. She'll come to Disneyland with us. And then literally she was here, and I was like, oh, well, the baby's not being born until next week. We'll go walk rides. We did 2 hours laps around Epcot.
Right.
And I went and did a bike ride, a cycling class, and then 3 a.m. Oh, surprise.
There we go. Yeah. Jill, just by the way, if you look it up, that's a good way to start the process.
Well, yes, but also that was so her actual like due date was May 24th, and she was born on April 25th. So but she was being evicted 3 weeks early.
3 weeks early, right?
So I didn't think that like 4 weeks early was danger to go into labor. But
start all that stuff. So we did improv together. Man, that was such a fun time. Like we did, we only did what, 3 shows, 4 shows, something like that.
Okay, so it's so funny that we're talking about this because for years I've been trying to like place like where did we do these shows? Like I can't figure out where was that theater, because I only did 3 things for stage. So I did the improv show with you, and then I did a musical called Smile, which was like an 80s cheese fest that we did in the same theater that we did the improv show. And then I also did like another like black box show at the Universe of Energy in that like front video
That
room.
front place, right?
But for years, I was like, where was that? I know it was at Epcot because I'm like, I know, but I couldn't place like where was that in time. And I was like bored, just like strolling around Epcot, like, oh, checking out stuff I haven't ever gone to. And I was
Right.
like, what's this like Animal Planet Wondrous thing? And I kid you not, I walked into the like the little like
Right. It
downstairs
was
hallway next to
such a
the,
big,
and
right?
immediately it was like That's So Raven, like in my
What it was the Timon and Pumbaa thing, wasn't it? In the Living with
it
the
used to be
Land?
like a Timon and Pumbaa conservation
Yeah,
video. Now it's
conservation
called like
show. Oh
Awesome
my
Planet. Same idea. But yeah, I like went into that hallway and all of a sudden I was like, this is where it was.
That's so
It was
fun. Oh
wild.
my gosh.
Awesome.
That was a blast doing that. And then I remember like my fondest memory of that. I mean, you know, we were funny and it went well. My fondest memory is Jill would show up to like the rehearsals with cupcakes.
Every
And
time.
like every
Because
time.
you guys were the guinea pigs.
Oh my, yes. And I remember she would say, you're like, Nick, what do you think about this peanut butter and jelly one? What do you think about this one? What do you, and I was like, I'll eat all of them. I will.
I mean,
like Jill,
listen, it's like the ultimate free market research if you have like a
right?
captive Disney audience and they're hungry all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. No, that was, yeah.
I
Oh
would
my
be
God.
I'd like bring it into like everywhere at work, all different
Right.
offices, get everybody's opinions on like
But
too
they
much
weren't,
peanut butter, not enough. Yeah.
they weren't just cupcakes, right? Like they weren't like home baked cupcakes. These
Right.
were professionally done. Like could have bought, I mean, obviously now professionally done, like out of the cat, like out of a bakery. Like that's like,
Yeah,
it wasn't
and
like
so
something thrown together to be like, Nick, try this. It was like, I should have been paying $7 for this cupcake and I was getting them
yeah,
for
so
free. It
that was 2009.
yeah,
And then the first episode of Cupcake Wars was September of 2012.
right.
And so that we like incorporated the business like that same week because there
Oh
was like, ooh,
wow.
this is gonna be on TV. We need to like make this legit.
Right.
And so 2012, so 12 years since Jilly Cakes became a business. And walk me back, what's that, in 15 years
Right.
since you were eating peanut butter
That I
and
was
jelly
eating.
Wow.
That's right. And they
at
were
the Timon and Pumbaa Theater.
so good. I was on the ground floor, man. So now, Jill, you do your own segues. I love it. So, Cupcake Wars.
Yeah.
Let's walk through. I am an avid Food Network watcher. When Sophia, my first, like at night when she wasn't asleep, and I have problems sleeping and everything like that, I would always turn the Food Network on. We would always watch different things. So I am enamored the fact that not only were you on one baking show, you were on two baking shows. So now walk us through how did you get on it in the first place?
Okay, so honestly, to this day I can only speculate. I have no idea. They called me.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
think, I mean,
Were you
like,
scouted?
Nick, you know that in our world at Disney, like everybody knows somebody else.
Right.
So I speculate that it was a friend of mine that like referred me
Okay.
to like, hey, like
Mhm.
the super delicious casting people were like, we're looking for bakers and whatever, and they were like, oh, email Jill.
Yeah, we know.
Because like I said, they reached out to me and I was like, I had never applied. They were like, we would like you to apply for this. And then
Wow.
after that point, casting agencies seem to be kind of lazy. I mean, it works out great for me, but it's like when they're like, oh, we're running out of ideas and we need to know that somebody knows how to do this already, they'll call the same people back. So like if you like Vanessa, that was my teammate on Holiday Wars.
Okay.
She's been on like 8 shows, all produced by the same production company, because they're like, oh, we know that she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Wow.
So once you get in, then they're just like, it's like a rotation of.
It's a rotation. Now
Yes.
you're in Florida. Now, where did they tape it?
So we filmed 3 episodes of Cupcake Wars. The first was shot at LA Center Studios, which is like right in the middle of the city. Whatever city LA has, which isn't
Right.
much. It's kind of like downtown Orlando. There's like 4 high-rise buildings.
Right.
So that was filmed at LA Center. And then the second one, the fan favorites episode, that was a little bit different because Super Delicious had said, here's the teams that are like possible to be on this episode. It was all like returning previous champions. And then it was like whatever team gets the most Facebook likes, those 4 teams will go into that. So it was like a crowd-funded episode.
Crowd
cast, whatever.
Right.
And then so that was shot at Sony, which was cool because we were like, oh my God, we're like big time now. Like we've gone from like a like back lot at LA Center of like trying to make stuff dry in the middle of winter, like painting things.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we're like at Sony and they're filming The Voice next door and there's like the Ghostbusters car and the Green Hornet and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
That's
and
awesome.
then we did an episode, what I call the dark ages of Cupcake Wars, which was like as the show was like going out. It was like one of the last few episodes that was ever shot. And they were getting to the point where it was like a team like backed out at the last minute. So they just asked us to like come and basically like fill in a team.
Right.
Like without the like all the other times, like we had to create our own displays. We had to do, all of that stuff. And like Jalen and I are like painting in the back lot. Like, and this time they're like, we've got it. Like, that's already done. This thing, we're like, don't worry about those things. And I was like, okay. That's weird. But anyway, so we were like the first team out because we weren't really intended to be there in the first place. And we went to Disneyland. It was
wow.
Whatever.
Wow.
Thanks for the free trip to California.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that so we did like we won, and then we had the very controversial fan favorites loss, which was like the other team like didn't finish her cupcakes, and there was like all these rules, and then at the end they were like, oh well, the executive producers can just decide whatever the rules say, it doesn't matter, they have the final say.
Wow.
And like people were like boycotting the show. It was nuts. I had printed out like 60 pages of angry tweets. I'm like, someday this is going to be hilarious. Not angry at me, angry like at the network.
Angry at the show. Right.
There was like this whole backstory where the person who won, they were trying to like shop a pilot for their own show, and
from that show.
So they're like, if they come off a bunch of wins, like it'll look better to the just shop to the net anyway. But it was hilarious because like subsequent contracts for this same production company have had like all of these things in them that weren't in the prior contracts that we're looking at, like we're reading through and we're like, oh, that's because of us and that's because of us. Like, all these things they had to like add in.
Oh, you're the add-ins.
Say like, whatever we say the rules are, ultimately it kind of doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
So now while it's filming, like it is hectic. Like I know obviously they give you guys 4 hours or 10 hours to do these things. Like it's like a lot.
It's awful. It's like so Cupcake Wars is a 3-day commitment. So the first day is like set up your display stuff and like prep your ingredients, label everything, measure stuff out. And then the filming day is like 20 hours, like just straight through, because you're like, you have to do all the setup shots. So it starts at like 4 a.m.
Right.
All the like walking out to stage, introducing things, all of that. And then you go straight into the baking. Like there's no There's no like go back to the trailer, have a burrito. It's all like just
you better have ate when you showed up.
Yeah, you should have eaten at 4 a.m. before we came out here. So you go straight into the first round, and then you sit in the trailer and wait for them to deliberate. Then you come out, hear the judging, and immediately go into the second round. Like, so if you're out, you're out. If you're in, it's nose to the grindstone. And so by the time we finished that shoot day of the 3 rounds, it's like midnight. It's
Jeez.
like, ridiculous. Wow. And you're just like covered. So the first episode, we kind of were a little naive in the sense of they'd like send a list of things that they have on the set. They're like, you don't have to bring spatulas or bowls or whatever, like all these things. They're like, here's the list of stuff we have. And then you get there and you realize it's not like a professionally curated set of things. It's just like, what did the other team leave behind? And now we've like collected it on the list and said, we have this.
It's like going to that friend's house that has an apartment and you walk in and it's just like $5 KitchenAid set and that's what you have.
Exactly. So like in that first episode, I think Dalen says that it's in there that you can see her go, like at one point she couldn't find a whisk. And they had like, the like racks of like candy and dishes and stuff. Right. And she's like, I'm going to take that one. And she like grabs the like decorative one out of the candy display to use because we just didn't have one.
They didn't have it. Wow. So, do you think that time, like having you guys there for so long, helps add to the everything? They went to drama.
No, basically the whole point is just to exhaust you to the point where you're like broken.
Right.
And then
because by the end of it you guys look like you're like, hey, you won, and you're like,
you're like, I need a nap. So you do this like 4 a.m. to midnight marathon, and then the next day is all of the confessionals, all the to the camera with the little.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah, when does that happen? So all
they have basically like they have a stenographer person that goes through and catalogs everything that was said all day during the shoot day. So when you go in to do your confessionals, there's like a Bible of like the full shoot day. And the producer or the assistant director person who's interviewing you is going through like moment by moment, and then you just like react like it's happening now. Obviously, I'm not like leaving the set to go.
I always wondered how that works. Oh my god, my mind is blown.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, that's
so we do that after. So they already know everything that's happened, and you have to just react like it's now.
Did you ever get to like the fact that they were like, and then you drop your whisk, and you're just like, oh man, and they're like, no, bigger. It's dramatic.
Yeah.
They dropped my whisk. I'm gonna lose.
There's also like there's just like what I would consider B-roll of that stuff too, where you just have to say like, hey, like, hi, oh no, like you just have to react a bunch of times for like 30 minutes.
For like, oh wow, that's
so and then have like every possible version of editing,
anything, right? And now I've noticed, because again I watch it sometimes, that stuff is out of sequence. Like, especially whenever like you're like towards the end and it's like, no, I think Jill's done. And then they see you guys in the background and you're still working. And I'm like, wait a second. That's
it's all they tell the story after they've got everything in the can. So and then there's like some stuff, obviously they don't know how chaotic it's gonna get or if it's not gonna be chaotic at all. Okay, so when we were doing, I'm getting ahead of myself, but when we were doing Holiday Wars, we had a bunch of like story points that they'd be like, oh, like, let's talk about this, let's talk about that, or like, what do you think the other team's doing, whatever. And then like in that episode 4 where we're doing the raccoons and like everything's going horribly wrong, they were just like, they abandoned, like they basically took the like story notes, threw them away, and like had every camera come to our area because they're like, this
you guys pulled it off though.
Yeah, no, but they're like, this is the story, like
This
in
is
real
it.
time. We
Right.
whatever our fake manufactured story is, we don't care.
Toss it.
All eyes on this. So
Wow.
Now, did they ever purposely throw wrenches in, like to cause problems ever, or if it was too boring, or
all of a sudden your oven's off or something?
Not on purpose.
Okay.
Like I don't think they don't think it's like a wrench per se, but obviously, like when we did, was it that same? I can't remember which episode we had to make the stupid ice cream for. Nick, do you remember this?
Oh
Like,
goodness.
I think
no.
it might have been the raccoon episode.
Yeah, I think I was going to
Everything
say. I
was
think it was
going wrong
the
with that
raccoon,
one.
because everything, Jason, on this
Everything.
episode just went, and they pulled it off.
Yeah,
but it just
but it
in the
just-
moment just went.
Everything was
Oh my
awful.
gosh, I felt so bad.
Justin is like my very best friend in the whole world now. And we never met until we were in Park City, Utah. And I literally, we were talking about this yesterday, and I was like, yeah, just throw a bunch of like black food coloring on the floor and slip around. I was like, that was very Double Dare. He's like, that's the only way to describe it. Like, we were expecting someone with a buzzer and like a squeegee to come out at any moment.
Oh my gosh.
Just slip sliding around in all white clothes. Like, who? White for like, I mean, I had to have had like full handprints on my butt.
You were covered. It was wild. So now, while shooting these, how much interaction do you have with like the host and the judges? Like, is the
like,
host
none.
like
yeah, like
nothing?
and that was the interesting thing for me with the
Holiday Wars, they seemed very hands-on, but Cupcake Wars, it just was kind of like,
when we did Cupcake Wars, it was a lot of people would say to me like, oh, did you like the other people on the other team, or did you talk whatever? And I purposely said, and this is facts, if I was ever saying anything or commenting on anything that another team was doing, it's because I was being fed that information. I could like the 4 stations like this and cameras in between all the tea, I could not see another person on another team, let alone know what they're doing.
React to it. Wow. So they're like
they would
feeding
come
it
over
to
and
you.
be like, oh, Sally's making Christmas trees or whatever. And I'd be like, oh, they'll be like, react to her Christmas trees. Ooh.
Wow, look at those Christmas trees.
Yeah. So, I mean, for Holiday Wars, we could see a little bit more. Because there wasn't the like thoroughfare between the stations. We were kind of on the outside, so you could like look over and be like, oh, that's not going to make it, or oh, that looks pretty cool from standoff scale. But you still couldn't like really, there's no interaction with the other teams, the other contestants. They keep it very sterile in that respect. Like, you're not supposed to fraternize. I got yelled at for like saying hello in a bathroom one time.
Oh my god!
They were like, "You can't
over the
like,
thing. Don't say hi."
Yeah, no, like passing in the doorway, and the like, the studio person was like, "Oh, you can't talk to each other." Like, that's
weird.
Yeah,
share recipes or something. Like,
contestants on opposite teams are not allowed to fraternize until you're like not a contestant anymore.
Wow.
Jeez. That's why. Okay, so Cupcake Wars was very sterile. But then when you were on Holiday Wars, oh my god, the cakes, Jill, that you did on Holiday Wars were beautiful. Your Grinch,
we were
your
like
Grinch
the perfect
is my
form.
favorite.
So let me give you the like TLDR on the whole Holiday Wars process. So again, I was reached out to by a casting person from Super Delicious, and they said, hey, we know you did Cupcake Wars, we're casting for Halloween Wars.
That's the ones with the pumpkins and stuff.
Yeah. So but that was the season that shot with us, so we shot in tandem. So because Artie and Shinmin were on both shows as judges, and then Manit was only on our show. So they were shooting every other day. So we'd be in a prep day when they did a Halloween, and then they did their prep day when we had a shoot day. So it was like every other day, Halloween, Christmas,
They're
Halloween.
just trying
Christmas.
different cakes. That's got to be the best life, right? Like,
so they had reached out to me saying they wanted me to be considered for Halloween Wars. And so I was like, great. And they're like, we need a audition tape. So then I went and shot this audition tape that was like when we were at the wheel, which I think is the last time I saw you.
Yep.
And it was like we shot it in the middle of the night, and my friend Ryan edited it to be like a slasher film. You know, like I stabbed like a big knife into a cupcake and it's bleeding and like black and white, very psycho.
Right.
And then we did some like Evil Dead, like the rotating entrance.
Oh, fun.
That's awesome.
So I send them that, and then like a week later, they're like, "We love it. You're going to be on the Christmas show."
We need your darkness during Christmas.
But everybody thinks that, you know, you've compiled these teams, like how we did for Cupcake Wars. It was like Jillian was a very close friend, and we knew each other, and we submit together. They take 27 contestants, shake them in a bag.
Oh my
and make
gosh.
9 teams of 3. So you've never seen this person, never met these people before you have to work with them on these like ridiculous
on these
sculptures.
art pieces. I mean, and it's wild. Jason, if you've never seen these, like Jill just like that, I think bringing 3 people together to like accomplish one thing that has never hung out before, that's your wrench, man. That is like,
yeah. And I mean,
you see people crying and they're not like, I think straight up lied. Like,
well, I mean,
like
we had a couple teams that like they were infighting amongst themselves. And like, I mean, when you've got 3 people who've never met and you're trying to like all put an idea together that's cohesive, that's like, it's make it or break it. And like I said, we got the perfect storm of like not only personalities but like skill set, you know, like because we could all loosely do all of the things, but we were all very specifically best at like one of the things. So we were very adept at like the divide and conquer. Like, here,
you guys worked very well together.
Make that thing, you make this thing, and I trust that we're gonna have these things to put together in 3 hours or whatever.
Yeah, you guys were very good together, but sometimes, Jason, like even on your season, it was just like there were other teams that were just fighting, and you're watching this one guy like push cake up, and you're just like, dude, do you even know what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, and I think and we had the comment from the judges, which I thought was the most flattering thing that any other professional has said to me, is that our cakes looked like they were made by one person. Instead of like, you know, a lot of the times there's like a lot of really good stuff going on, but you can tell that like one person made this tree and one person made this animal,
made people,
and like the styles are all a little bit their own.
Right.
And they said that we always managed to make it look like one person
really good comment.
Was responsible for it. So.
Yeah, my favorite is the Grinch cake.
The Grinch is hands down. That's our magnum opus. So what I was saying before, when I said
way back when, bring it to it.
way back. When you were talking about like, oh, the Santa, like your Santa was better than the other Santa. When we were doing, so we had like win, and then episode 4, everything just went catastrophic, and we were like, this is it, we're gone. The whole cake. I mean, we had, I think it was like we had less than an hour and a half or so left. We had like 90 minutes from when Justin had to scrap it straight to the cake board. Like, and he's like, I got to do it. It's not going to hold up. And I'm like, well, I trust you. And they like wheeled over giant trash bins.
Just tossed it in. Holy cow.
And that's like, obviously we're not like, I didn't have to bake all of the pans that go into the whole thing. Like I bake a section and then that gets worked in, and then that becomes the part that you cut. So like the bulk of it is just like big sheet cakes, vanilla or
Rice
chocolate or
crispy
whatever.
things and everything like that. Like
Yeah, and that stuff's all just like pre-made that we sculpt with. And then so I wasn't like, oh no, now I have to go put 16 other
we gotta bake 16 cakes in 20 minutes.
Yeah, you just like, well, first of all, the like first episode that we shot, they're like, well, we only have 2 ovens and we have 6 teams. So like I think for that episode I actually had to bake the tasting cake the day before, like during the prep day, and then they were like, I mean, I still had to like mix it and get it in the pans, but they were like, once you get it in the pans, then you can like get out of the way because we don't have enough ovens for everybody to have their stuff in all at the same time. But where's the so anyway, so we had like win-win-win, catastrophic disaster, and then we like came right back with the Grinch. And you're like the ultimate foot landing of all time. And we had heard like the producers and stuff kind of like offhandedly saying like, well, it would be really boring if one team just won everything the whole entire season.
Right. Like came in and just
yeah, so I think like that contributed a bit, but also, I mean, we were there for almost a month.
Wow.
And yeah. So it was like
do they just expect you to stop your lives for a month?
Yes.
Wow.
You just have to commit to like, I could be here for 3 days, I could be here for 3 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so that was like I came home on the 3rd of July. And the team that won, they were like, oh, your prize for winning is that you have to make another cake for another like bonus New Year's Eve episode. And I was like, well, I'm glad that we didn't win because I couldn't spend another week like causing the business. Like I'd already gotten to the point where I had like taken some cakes, like knowing I was going to be home.
Wow. Now, do they pay you for it or no?
Like I said, I consider Grinch to be like our finale cake. That's the.
I really can't believe that but the judges like voted for you guys. Like was this a producer thing?
But like I said, it's all about the story they're telling. It's all about like, oh, we want to have the underdog come in at the last minute.
It was an underdog cake that beat out this masterpiece of a black and white Grinch cake. It was
Grinch won. It was the Santa that like
the Santa. That's right.
We won 4 of the episodes of the 6, and then one was raccoons and one was the finale. So that's like they're like, these guys are winning too much.
But the Santa you guys had the beard and everything like that, right?
Yeah, Santa was on a jetpack and it had the naughty and nice with little cold donuts.
That was so good.
I was this is the only time someone suspended cakes like on chains.
Right. In the finale. And I gotta tell you, my kids, we watch it every year because it's a holiday, obviously. And they think I'm so cool because I know you.
Right.
And I'm like, that's my friend Jill. And they're like the first time we watched it, Sophie's like, no, it's not. And I was like, yes, it is. Look, and I had to bring up your Facebook page. I was like, look,
I was like, you're gonna have to bring up the cast photo from 2009.
Right. Oh my gosh, it was so. And then so we watch that every year, and we always get so angry when you guys don't win. So I just want it like we're
that's why I feel like it's safe to just like you can just end it on Grinch. Just pretend.
Right. Well, but your Santa was really good too. It wasn't like another raccoon thing. Like your Santa was really good. That's the thing. So I do want to ask, when you're gone for a month, they tell you to pause your life. Are they like just hoping that you're financially stable enough to pause your life for a month?
We got zero compensation for being there.
But they take care of like everything for you, right? Like they board you and feed you?
Yeah, so they pay for the hotel, obviously. They give us like a per day amount for food and stuff. But so like when we did Cupcake Wars, we got like we were like employees of the studio and we got like $250 per episode or something per person, which wasn't, I mean, it's not much, but it's something. And then this was like, here, be here for a month. Good luck.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they were like, oh, we'll reimburse you up to this much per episode for like ingredients and wood and pipes and whatever. So, okay. So anyway, back to
Right. Yep.
back
to the
to
Future.
the casting process of Holiday Wars. So they said, like, okay, you're gonna be on Christmas. Hey, your teammates are Vanessa, and she's this person, and your other teammate is Christian, who was another person from Los Angeles. And so we had already, like, we'd gone through the creative design for the Scrooge Ghost of Christmas Future cape.
Right.
And we were 3 days from leaving for Park City, Utah. And Christian decided that he couldn't make the commitment anymore and dropped out of our team.
Oh, wow.
Which, I mean, now looking back on it, you're like, this is the best thing that ever happens. But when you're
Right.
3 days from like filming this thing, you're like, we've been working for 2 weeks on the creative for this episode. We like just barely are kind of getting to know each other a little bit.
Right.
And now you're like, and so Vanessa's freaking out. It was like 2 hours on the phone with her in the front of Dalen's driveway to
Right.
like calm her down. And our team producer was like, it's okay, I've got a replacement for you, whatever. And so they were like, oh, we'll have that information for you later today, tomorrow morning, whatever. So then in comes Justin, and
Right.
he was the best thing to ever happen to all of us.
You and Justin seemed like you knew each other.
He came to Park City with 7 suitcases full of Home Depot supplies.
Wow.
And
But it's a good guy.
I mean, he bought like every pipe fitting that
Right.
the entire state of California had before he
Wow.
shipped them. He like laid out a bunch of plastic on the bed, like
Right.
Dexter style, so that we wouldn't get like pipe grease on
the bed. Right.
Yeah. And so but you know, there's always sort of that moment. So we shot in July of 2021. So like the world was still not mostly open at that point.
Right.
We had to quarantine for 6 days when we got to Park City, like in our rooms, couldn't leave the rooms. Like I had to Instacart like Costco groceries to my door to then like open the door and take them into my room. So but Vanessa's very smart and a little bit crafty, and so when she got to Park City first, and she went to like the hotel managers, because they don't know, they're just like, oh, it's this block of hotel rooms, and she was like, oh, I need to be like adjoining to this person's name. So she and I had like a secret door between our rooms that like nobody knew about, and we were we'd be like open the door, like hanging out, and then they'd like knock on the door to give us our per diem, and we're like, scramble, close the door, like we can't know
Close the door. Move the chaparral back.
Yeah, so we had like actual contact in those 6 days of quarantine.
That's awesome.
But Justin was across the hallway, so the most that we saw him was like throwing tape or scissors or something across the hallway, like, hey, I need more whatever, and throwing it. But you know, so as a team with Christian and Vanessa, we had already crafted like, what's this Vespa thing with Scrooge and the ghost, and so when Justin came on board, they were like, you just can't change anything about that because it's already been approved by the EPs, like that just can't change, whatever it is. And so I'm like, oh my God, like who is this guy? How are we gonna make, like, we knew that Christian could make a Vespa. Can this guy make a Vespa? So in what was probably the most defining moment of our friendship, he sent a picture where he had taken a bunch of Coke Zero boxes and the pipe fittings and completely templated the Vespa car, like the whole thing, out of to scale, 1-to-1 scale in his hotel room, made out of Coke Zero boxes.
There we go. There we go.
Wow.
And I was like, we're gonna be fine.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Wow, that's awesome. So now, real fast before we do the hat, I did want to ask. I kind of brought it up a little bit. The judges in Holiday Wars, they seemed a little bit more hands-on with you guys, where they kind of walked around and talked with you. Is that post?
Yeah, it was kind of like part of the production was that like they have to go and do like a check-in with the teams like twice.
Are they really sweet?
Yeah.
Nice. Like Manit is so cool. Like I watched her from like Chopped and like all this other stuff.
Well, it
So
was great because I mean they were all, of course we got to actually like speak to them like off camera and stuff instead of like during Cupcake Wars it was very, like I told you, very antiseptic. And so like we'd be like waiting for our little up the nose COVID tests every day outside the studio, and like Manit's kids were there and they're like into Spider-Man and stuff. So I mean they're so she's cool. She's doing a demo at Disney Springs next week, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring the baby down there and be like, guess what?
Hey, remember me? Oh my gosh. By the way,
so
congratulations.
Cool. Yes,
Thank
congrats.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So now I did want to jump in here, and we have questions from a hat. We'll do about 5. They're just quick answers, and if you want to dive in, we can. I mean, there's really no rules. We wrote them to be quick, but if you're like that one, hold on, let's talk about it. Okay, let's see what they are. Okay, this one. Do you have a narration in your head, or is it quiet up there?
Oh yeah, no, I always talk nonstop in my head. Yeah,
right. I do too.
She's at least 3 other people. It's like that Multiplicity movie.
I talked to my wife and she's like, "No, like, what do you mean?" And I said, "No, I narrate. I talk to myself. Like, I narrate everything. Like, oh, Nick,
yeah, I go through like the day. I go through the schedule. Like, I've got at least 6 employees all up there at any given time.
Wow. Yeah, that's why I like my podcast. Like, that's why I like this. Is it's just like all of them are talking all at the same time, and I'm listening. It's fascinating. So, okay, so you have a narration. Okay, next one. If you could only drink one drink forever, other than water, what would it be?
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Diet Dr. Pepper. There we go.
I always get like jazzed when that's anywhere. Like you're like going up to the freestyle fountain. You're like, oh my God. That's Coke products, but also Dr. Pepper because they're like Switzerland.
Pepper, right? So I pulled that question out and I have it written on this, and it just says, what would it be? And I thought to myself, what did I set myself up for? That doesn't make any sense. And then I realized the question's on the other side too.
What would it be? It's like the answer to the universe, 42. Yeah.
Right. What would it be? What would it be? Okay. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Have you had an encounter, or just the belief is good enough?
So, like in my childhood home, we had a couple like inexplainable, like toys would go missing and then be like right on the middle of the shelf of a completely empty closet. So yes, I mean, not like I said, not like an apparition type thing, but but I did. So I have like a very recent. My brother lived in San Jose, California, until like 6 months ago, where he moved to Maine. But when I was visiting him last year, the Winchester Mystery House is there.
Which is I've been there.
Yeah, the Winchester House inspired the Haunted Mansion, of course.
Right. Yep.
And I went like on the basement ghost tour there. So I mean, yes, personally, I've not like seen a ghost, but I absolutely believe that they
see. Winchester Mystery is so awesome. I grew up in San Jose. I lived there until I was.
I would live there. Steve and I went to like the Halloween event where they like turned it into like a haunted. It was just so cool.
It was so cool. It's such a neat, interesting like WTF. Like, I'd love to talk to this person. Like, I would love to talk to Winchester, like the Lady Winchester. Like, it was so wild. But I was going to ask, Jill, because you said about your childhood home. Did you notice? Because I had similar things happen to me only when I was like a kid. Again, I've never seen like an apparition or anything like that, but it always seemed to happen like whenever you're a kid. Do you ever think that that's like, you know, when you watch the shows and stuff like that, like that we're still innocent, and that's why sometimes you think that those like the entities kind of communicate with us?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, we have like the little nanny cam on the crib, and I like in the middle of the note at like 3 a.m. I'll see like a little like floaty speck go by the camera, and I'm like, is that a ghost? Is it someone we know? Like, are they visiting the baby? You know,
or a fly? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Could
little
be
speck of dust.
Fleck.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is a good one. Favorite holiday?
Well, like, I mean, obviously Christmas is great.
Well, don't be what is yours?
I grew up, I mean, I was born April 4th, so I've always been an Easter baby.
Okay.
So I'm like bunnies and eggs and chickens and
Bunnies
that's
and
like.
eggs and stuff. Okay. See,
So I
I
would
feel like when
say,
people say Christmas, it's just a cop out. Like, of course, I
yeah,
get
that's
it's
what I'm like. I mean, Christmas is great, but it's Christmas. So I would say Easter.
I'm all about the
Springtime.
Halloween. Oh my gosh, Easter's great. We love Easter too. So, I think we got time for one more.
All
Let's
right.
see. Silence or background noise?
Noise. Yeah. Like
Noise.
if I'm going to bed, I have to have the TV on like low, just
Do you have a show?
ambient. I actually found an all Bob Ross all the time channel the other day.
Oh, okay.
Like it's
Okay.
just never ending episodes of Bob Ross. And I was like, this is perfect. This is what I've been looking for. I used to like watching Scrubs to go to
Okay.
bed. But Steve like pays too much attention to it because I think he's like your wife. He doesn't have an internal, like he's not speaking
Narrator,
to
right,
himself
yeah.
all day. And he was like, I want to listen to it. I want to be involved in like hearing the jokes. I can't tune it out. So we
Right.
had to like, so it has to be something boring
Something.
or very
Oh my gosh.
low
So
key.
I have to listen to music because I also have tinnitus. So I always just grew up listening to like oldies. And listening to that for 36 years kind of gets old. So I found on Apple Music like this meditation, right? So this lady's like, take a deep breath.
Yeah. Okay.
Relax
So
your
on
hands.
Netflix,
But I'm talking to her. Like I'm talking in my head, like, oh, I did that. Wait,
yeah,
am I relaxed?
they have so on Netflix they have like Headspace guide to sleep, Headspace guide to meditation, whatever, and it's like the same idea. But I can't interact and not like be having a two-way conversation.
Think about it, right? Yeah. Am I relaxing enough? Wait, I don't want to put my hands flat. I want to keep them in a fist. Like, so I had to turn it off. I had to go back to my oldies.
Yeah, no. Bob Ross all day, all the time. Perfect for sleep.
Awesome. Now, Jill, I want to wrap up because I know we're coming close to our end. I know we talked about celebrities. I know you go to all these cons and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I know going into certain things, people say, don't meet your idol, right? Like don't meet your person because sometimes they're a jerk and they don't live up to what you think of. Have you had that happen, or have you met your idol and it's been amazing?
No, literally every time I've met anybody that was like make or break my life, they've been amazing. And I would say like take the chance, even if they might be crappy, because you like might not get that opportunity again. So like when Michael J. Fox came to MegaCon, I was like, we have to go see him.
We have to go.
We have to go. And and then so anyway, the reason I was pointing out the Shield I'm like, which way? The Shield over there on Jason's wall. So we had in 2019 they had announced Ace Comic Con was doing a Boston convention, and it was Chris Evans, Tom Hiddleston, Chris Hemsworth, and Ewan McGregor. So it was like, so we had tickets for all of that.
Oh,
so
wow.
we had bought the Shield. We'd bought the Shield and we'd bought the scepter, the Loki scepter. So
awesome.
he ordered that from a forge or like weapons manufacturer in Canada.
There we go.
Yeah. And so
Or just maple syrup.
But it had free shipping. So I was like, well, don't send it to us if we are going to bring it to Boston.
Right.
Ship it to my mother in Plymouth. So the Shield and the scepter were both sent to Boston. And 10 days ahead of the convention, COVID happened. And all of my entire life dreams were dashed and thrown on the floor. So
that's terrible.
So like sometime in like early 2021, we drove to my parents' house in Plymouth and like collected all of our stuff and the Shield and the scepter and brought them home. Like, well, someday we'll meet these people. So then, of course, when MegaCon announced that Tom was going to be here, I was like, we've been waiting for 4 years for this to happen. So, and he was great and exceeded all of my expectations. But so I would say, like, even if they might be a crappy person, like, still just do it anyway.
Just do it, just to see. Yeah. Have you ever watched Graham Norton before?
Yes.
The British show. I love Tom Hiddleston on Graham Norton. One time
like
he was
dancing.
When he did the impression of Robert De Niro.
Oh
in front of Robert De Niro.
Great impressions.
He's so good.
Okay, so
and when he did Graham Norton, he's like, "Has anybody done you?" And Graham's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, here, give me a cards." And he's like, "Oh," and he goes, "Oh, and you. And I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so
I love when he does Owen Wilson. That's so meta, especially now that he's like worked with him a ton on Loki. But one last like tidbit thing before we go. So we're like, oh, we're gonna meet Tom. We're gonna have him sign the scepter, whatever. And so I was like, you're trying, like, when you know that you have like a scheduled photo op, you're like, how can I differentiate from like not being everybody else?
Right?
Like, how can I make it interesting? And so I don't know if you've seen that when the Avengers first came out, and it was like early, like 2010, 2012, whatever.
Yeah.
They were doing, he did like a bunch of these like ridiculous MTV news videos where he was like wearing a fake mustache, and he was like, ho ho, you've been Loki'd again. And he's like going through the like cafeteria at the studio, like, oh, you like that gas in the engine? Well, there's none in there. I took the caffeine out. Like, there's none in the like, just these stupid pranks.
Right.
And so we go in, and I was like, Steve, I want him to do the like, ho ho, you've been Loki'd again. And he's like, that's dumb. Like, he might not even remember it. And I was like, no, they did like a reprise. Like, when the Loki show came out, he did like Steve Returns to MTV Studios. And so I was like, so he definitely like knows about it. So we go in, everybody's like, oh, you make my life, and like, I kept me from like spiraling down into a mentee bee or whatever, they say to celebrities.
Wonder how many lives do they save a day? That's what I want to know,
right? Single-handedly saving thousands of lives. So I go in, and I'm like, I'm 7 months pregnant with the baby. And I like go in, and I was just like, hey, remember that ridiculous bit where the like delivery guy, Steve, can you do the like ho-ho mustache thing? And he looks at me dead in the eye, and he goes, I most certainly can.
That's awesome.
Yes. Oh, yay.
So that's what I was like. I mean, again, take the chance, and also like, don't be afraid to say stupid crap to them, because I mean, as somebody who used to be in entertainment type things, those are the people that you remember. Like, be the weird person. Don't be the like, you saved my life and hugs and whatever.
Oh my
gosh.
Be the weirdo. I do have to ask. Last thing, swear to God, Jason. Yeah. Last thing. He's always on my.
I got some stuff too. So
okay. So I real fast, Jill. Because you're in entertainment, because you were in entertainment, right? I was also in entertainment. And you just said about meeting like Tom and stuff like that. I find myself like I was in that life. I met those people, but I somehow forget that when I take the kids to meet anybody or I run into anybody. I'm just like, oh, we watch you on Saturday mornings, or oh, we watch, oh my gosh, the one with you and Pluto. Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard. Ha ha ha. Like, I get like so giddy, and I'm telling the character about how much I love them. And then like, we walk away. My wife's like, you know. And I was like, I know, but I want them to know that I know that I really like them. Like, I don't know. I just get this really weird,
it's weird. And I think you have to be sort of a certain mindset, but like, I still get excited. I've seen the wizard behind the curtain in every sense. And I'm still like, I still believe in Santa Claus.
Right? Yeah, you get excited.
Literally, like, I make Steve like sneak around even when there was no baby to like, Santa Claus has to come to the house. If I wake up and that like didn't happen, it's
oh my gosh,
game over. Like, we leave out like booze for him and like special treats.
There we go. Steve has his needs.
I don't know. I think it's because if you have a creative or a very imaginative brain, you can sort of separate the nuts and bolts of what's happening from the experience of what's happening.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
I think that is natural. I think it'd be weird if you were just like, are you hot? Right. Are you sweating?
Know, right? Come on, kids. They say hi to everybody. Yeah, that's true. I just get excited. I just want to make sure that I'm not there. Okay, Jason, what do you have?
Yeah. So quick question about the cupcake. So I've looked on your website, the flavors. The flavor that looks coolest to me is the caramel apple cider. But if you had to pick one, like, what's your favorite cupcake? If you had to pick out one flavor that you've ever had or made, what would it be?
I'm a horrible, boring person because I love lemon. Like I'll always go back to the lemon things.
Yeah,
always. Like if I'm making something lemon, I have to like, slice some off the top or put some in a bowl or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm the weirdo, but I mean, my favorite is like, back in those days in 2009, like everyone I was baking for was friends or coworkers or something. And like in 2024, my mother will still ask like, "Oh, who's that for?" Like you're going to know them. Like
that's awesome.
Making this for my improv cast, Mom.
Yeah, no, but she'll be like, "Oh, who's that?" Or like, or to be some like elaborate thing, and she'll be like, "What flavor was that?" And I'm like, "Vanilla." Like, don't get excited. Everybody's gonna be boring. Vanilla, chocolate, and red velvet. That's all anybody ever wants.
Now, do you suffer from the working in a bakery, like where you're just like, I don't want another cupcake, or do you still eat cupcakes?
Yeah, no, I like we've dubbed it the cakein. So like, the cake comes out, and it's like a little bit like domed up on the top.
Right.
You have to cut them flat.
Mm-hmm.
And then the part that gets cut off, we call that the cakein. That's the cake bacon. So it's like that can then be like folded into a whoopie pie or like eaten in a bowl. Or,
yum. Okay. So
yeah, like who's gonna throw away the cake bacon? That's the best part.
I don't know. I always heard this thing like if you worked at an ice cream shop or at a donut shop.
No, I mean I used to work. I used to work at a coffee shop in Massachusetts, and I had like more coffee when I worked there than ever in my life. So no, I mean, or I just don't know how to not be indulgent, I guess.
Right. Jason, you got any other questions, sir?
Yeah, one last one. So if you couldn't bake, what other food would you like to make as a profession?
I don't know that I'd be in another food profession. I've had every weird job on the planet, and I think I've told Nick this, but like my first job, I was a ski instructor for snow skiing, not like water skiing, for teaching children how to ski. And then I was like the arts and crafts director for our town, and then I worked at the coffee shop, and then I like was in construction. I was a construction supervisor, and like so I've had every job on the planet. And then I was in parades, cool. And then and then you're like, well, that gets old. Got to find a new. I'm kind of like in like Tangled when they're like, I got to find a new dream, or what's your dream? And I think that evolves every day.
Right.
That's awesome.
Well, because you evolve. Yeah.
Who knows where we'll be in 10 years?
Right.
Exactly.
Years.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows in general? Well, Jill, I appreciate you. And if you want to, you can plug it. Where's your shop?
Well, we don't have a retail store anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we went ghost kitchen like most food businesses do these days because it's just post COVID there's like no like walk-in traffic is so hit or miss. You're like, I don't want to make a bunch of stuff and have nobody eat it or not have enough and too many people walk in. So it was just, and plus going into like knowing, the baby's coming. I had to streamline down to like only custom orders. So we're custom orders only now, which has been great because I don't have to stand around and wait for people all day.
Right.
So that saves my day. But everybody can place orders at JillyCakesOrlando.com.
Awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Jill, I appreciate your time. Love you, hon. And you've been amazing to talk with. And we'll talk soon.
Yeah, you guys are great.
Thanks, Jill.
Thanks, Jill.
Bye.
Wow. Holy cow, Jason. I am mind blown from talking to Jill. Like, how baking awesome was that?
It was really baking awesome, Nick.
Wow, it was really baking awesome. Like I like one of my favorite things was the double take for the not double take, that's the wrong term, but like whenever they're cooking and then they're in the studio and they're there and talking about what happened, like how she said it's all like, oh my god, like it was
so cool.
It was so cool, like so much detail in what she said. I swear we could bring her back. Like that was like she has stories upon stories, and we didn't even crack into half of it. But like
I know.
I feel like her time on Cupcake Wars and Holiday Wars and how it works. I don't think there was much. I don't think we left a cake pan unturned on that one.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think every single pan was turned over.
Well, listeners, thank you for your time. Thank you for spending an hour with us. We love spending an hour with you. And you just stay classy and keep it going. And you know what? That jerk that was mean to you, don't let him bother you. Keep going, prosper, and stay positive. Jason, have a good night, my friend.
Have a good one, Nick.
Bye, guys.
Till next time.
Till next time.